No. No. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. No. The moment she says the baby kicks downward, I'm like, no, please not. It's a breech birth. No. Can we have an entire season where these ladies are not facing some sort of trouble or overcoming some tragedy? I just want my girls to be happy, and I don't breech birth. No, I don't like this. I don't like this. The moment she said that, I was like, it's a death sentence. Like at that time period, it's like a death sentence. And I'm glad we have Luomen on board because that will kind of alleviate a bit there. But I don't think this is going to end well. I really, literally don't think this is going to end well. And I think it's going to blow up in everybody's face. And it's going to be something that Maomao herself is going to either be impacted by or at least have to go through a lot of struggles in order to overcome. I just feel like with a breech birth, with this time period, I feel like either Gyokuyou or the baby is going to be lost in the end. And it is going to look really bad because, again, they basically brought somebody that was somebody that was a criminal, somebody that was banished from the rear palace, was brought in there for the sake of this birth, and it's going to look really bad upon them for allowing that to happen because there's going to be a whole investigation, especially if the child ends up being a boy, because then it would be one of those situations where that was a potential prince. And if the boy lives and Gyokuyou dies, then it will be the loss of what would be the Empress. I don't think this is going to end well. I don't know if they're going to get that dark, but I just don't think it's going to end well. I'm glad that Luomen's on board. I about lost it the moment he got to those gates because it felt like it was Luomen overcoming essentially him being wronged. This guy was wronged. He was put out there, branded a criminal, kicked out, banished. And Maomao, thankfully, through this whole situation, essentially brings him back in. Now, it sort of doesn't really fully clear the idea that he has been cleared. It doesn't give as if he's been cleared. I thought that was what the process they were going to have. Through Jinshi or something like that. Easily through Jinshi. Because literally Jinshi can go to the current emperor. Now, again, they've sort of laid it out as if the emperor doesn't have full control over everything. There is still, like, very prolific, political figures. Luomen's father's a good example that could push back on this kind of stuff. But Jinshi technically does have a phone in. He can phone in for anything. But anyways, this episode was fantastic. Look into Xiaolan, which was fantastic. A little bit of look into her, which I thought was great. And so many moments of Maomao speaking up. This was one thing that stood out to me the most in this episode, is that Maomao is speaking up. She's being selfish. She's speaking back against people. She's getting angry for not only others, but herself. She's putting herself out there for individuals. And I think that's a big growing point for Maomao's character. I was almost getting a feeling that through Xiaolan's whole situation, we were seeing sort of the first steps of Maomao sort of finally breaking out of that shell that she's in. Again, something that we established back here when Jinshi was trying to confess what's going on with him. We get a little brief insight into Maomao and how she has locked away her emotions and her ability to read other people's emotions. She fails at reading the room because she's always locked up those emotions. She was always crying there alone back at the house. And she wasn't able to get that attention that she needed as a child, and thus she locked up the emotions. I almost feel like this episode, again, is like 2-3 scenes where it feels like Maomao is finally saying, I want this. Wait, you want this? No, I don't agree with that. You're wrong here. It feels like she's finally speaking up, and it's kind of a big point for her. But anyways, let's get in the episode proper. I'm jumping around. We're already like almost 5 minutes in. I haven't even started the actual impressions here. Opening up the episode with the ice. The ice has been fallen, and yes, Xiaolan is not happy. This poor girl. Apparently, as they were walking around, she was super excited because she got a hairpin from a low-ranking consort. Last episode, I was kind of wondering, whose hairpin is this? It doesn't seem like they're naming them. It's just a consort. A consort picks her, wants her to do more work for her. She's super excited about that. Again, this is the whole thing where Xiaolan is looking for an opportunity to have somewhere to be once she leaves the palace. And so she's trying to make those connections. And so she's super excited about this and ends up bumping into somebody and breaking the ice. Yeah, the entire time she's sitting there, I'm like, when is Jinshi going to step in? My assumption was that Jinshi was going to step in. I was like, they're not in trouble. Jinshi's going to step in. I'm right, but I'm wrong at the same time. It's like one of those moments where I'm like, I was pretty darn sure Jinshi was going to step in. And he technically does. He just allows her to kind of... He allows Maomao to kind of, splash a little bit. Like he's just kind of off the side of the pool going, yeah, I'm not going to step in quite yet. I'm going to wait for her to say, I need you or something like that. He's such a jerk. She's such a jerk. But yes, we cut over and then, Xiaolan is crying. My poor girl. My heart My heart broke for the girl. She was so happy, and this is just something that's just not working for her. Maomao puts it as, yeah, she was really excited about that. But not only that, but then bam, this person just berates her. She's not used to this. She's a child. Xiaolan is a child. She's working back here very, very young. She's not used to having people berate her like that. She was in a very stressful situation that she couldn't handle. But yeah, specifically getting to how Xiaolan herself was sold off to the rear palace. I don't think they ever mentioned that before, and that's just kind of another thing that sort of just adds to the heartbreak for this girl. That she kind of, yes, she was technically working off this contract. Like, she had this time period that she had to be there, similar to Maomao, working off this contract, and eventually, once that's done, she can leave and do whatever she wants. But I don't think they ever got the idea that she was sold back there. And despite that, Mama's pointing out, despite that, this girl has kept on a smiling face. Yes, technically with this whole situation right here, this is the first time we're really seeing her break down. And I think that's a big driving force for why Mama's like, I gotta help this girl. I gotta make her happy again. Again, later on with the ice cream, finally, that smile back. I brought back the smile to the smile that I was supposed to protect originally. My poor girl needs happiness. I ship her with Shisui. I just ship her with Shisui. Ship her with Shisui. But yes, the big important thing in this whole scene is that, yes, Jinshi comes up and says, okay, what are you doing? What's going on? Maomao promised that she was going to make something out of the ice, and she needs ingredients. So Jinshi is like, so you need something? I need to borrow a kitchen. What do I get from it? Like, that was where it is. He was just waiting for her to ask for something. What do I get out of the situation? Interesting. So Maomao right here, again, she's going out of her way in order to help somebody else. This is not really Maomao. Now, Maomao is a person that is driven by justice. She likes to overcome things that are wronged. But right here, it feels like she's going out of her way in order to help somebody that not really at fault. Like, this is not even their situation. Like, if Xiaolan says, oops, sorry, and walks away, the guy's like, yeah, sorry doesn't fix this. I'm in trouble, which, yes, turns out to be Luomen, which that was kind of a funny thing too. I thought it was going to be ice for Gyokuyou. This is not our problem. Yeah, this guy is going to get whipped for this. He's supposed to bring this to Luomen. Luomen is a high-ranking consort. It's going to look really bad upon him. He's probably never going to get work in there again. And again, he's going to probably get whipped for it. But Xiaolan's not going to get in trouble. She's not going to get in trouble. It's his responsibility. It's his cart. Yeah, she bumped into it apparently. That's still his fault. He's still going to be the one that's going to get in trouble for this. It's just more of a fact that Xiaolan herself feels bad for this. And Maomao wants to help Xiaolan, wants to alleviate that pressure that's put upon her. So she's sticking her neck out for the situation that she doesn't really have responsibility for. And I like how it gets into the idea that, yes, technically when I first met Xiaolan, I was just using her as a gossip girl. I was getting information from her and I was paying her with food. So I was paying her back, thus I never owed her anything. But here, Maomao's going an extra step. It's like she's in conflict with herself in the idea that I don't owe her anything. True, I don't owe her anything. I'm not responsible for this, but yet I'm still sticking my neck out here. Additionally, I'm also putting myself in owing of somebody else in order to do this. It's a big step for her. And again, I like the fact that it's pointing out specifically, I don't owe her anything, but yet I'm still doing it. Why? It doesn't seem like she even understands why she's taking that extra step. Again, this is a growth point for Maomao. But I like this because, yes, she's asking for something from Jinshi. Can I have this kitchen? I need some ingredients. I know it's a selfish request. And he's like, what do I get out of this? And she says, nothing. I can't give you anything. I don't have anything to give you, but please let me use it. Internally, she says, I'm in no position to ask, but I have no other choice. I love this because this is something that you sort of have to put yourself in the position of Maomao. Again, we get this comfortable feeling that the two of them are friends. And we know that Jinshi loves Maomao and would do anything for Maomao. But every now and then you have to remind yourself the position that Maomao is in. She is a commoner. And she's asking something of somebody of high position for something without anything in return. It's a request, but it is important to note that he has no obligation to do anything for her from his position. In fact, it would be more likely that he should decline her to not show that favoritism to a commoner. From the mind of somebody who sees their relationship, the assumption here is that yes, she's done so much for Jinshi, he can do this one thing for her. She's always doing things for him. But again, Maomao's not doing things to Jinshi for favors. She's doing things for Jinshi because he is her boss. She is still under his authority. So it kind of gives a little bit more weight to what she's doing here. Anyways, yes, she's like, I'm not gonna be able to sleep. He starts laughing. It will affect my duties. I gotta do this. He says, under one condition, when someone's talking, listen to them until the end. She's like, that's it? It's a big deal because you don't do that. Yeah, the whole situation with him trying to confess everything to her and her running off with that stupid ingredient. But yeah, he's like, I want to change my payment. She's like, what else would it be? I have a bad feeling about this. I should ask Gyokuyou instead. Wait, I can't have her help me with Xiaolan. And then a ribbon falls out. And yeah, he brings up an interesting question. Why don't you ever use the hairpin I gave you? I gave you one. Why don't you ever use one of those? She's like, hairpins don't suit me. He's like, okay, then wear that. That's the condition. Wear that instead. Which is interesting because I didn't see it in the following scenes. I didn't think she ever wore the hairpin, which is interesting. Maybe it's to something specific, or maybe in the next episode we might see it finally in her hair. It's not like she had time to go home and get the hairpin and stick it in, so it makes sense that she doesn't have it now. But even in the later scenes, like when she's with Gyokuyou and stuff like that, never see it. But yes, they enact the plan, which I kind of assumed the moment I heard the ingredients starting to be read off. Yeah, they're going to make ice cream. This is always a funny thing whenever they do the ice cream thing in a lot of these shows. It's like, what do you guys put in your ice cream that it stays, like, not melted that long? Like, whenever I've made homemade ice cream, that stuff melts fast. Like, before you're even getting it out of the jar into the plate, it's already melting. So, like... They're like, here it is. Oh, that looks great. Oh, let's try some of it. The guy comes storming in. Oh, yeah, here you go. Take it to her. I'm like, it's already melted. Like, by right now, by the time he hits the door, that thing's melted. I guess it could be very cold temperatures right now. I don't know. And then, yeah, you still have the fact that he's going to arrive there, and they're probably not going to see him immediately. They're going to have to then test it. And then, is she ready for it at that point? Like, all these little variables that are just not working for it. But it was cute, though, because, yeah, Xiaolan, perks up very quickly, has a lot of fun with it, really likes it. It was super cute. I love seeing my Xiaolan, after all that crying, return back to normal. But, interesting, Shisui shows up. Yes, it's sort of putting a little bit of damper on my theory around her being Luomen, but there's nothing to say that this guy doesn't run over there to bring this to her, and then come to find out, oh, Luomen's not available or something like that. Or they're like, okay, we'll take it, be on your way. It's not like the guy's going to go in there and hand it to Luomen. But she could have learned that something happened with the ice on the way and that Maomao was involved, and then she came rushing over to get a fresh batch of it. She could have rushed over there to get a fresh batch of whatever they're making or to find out what they're going to make out of it. Okay, Maomao is fixing the whole situation. I want to be involved now. It doesn't kill my theory. Shisui could still be Luomen. But yes, that's when things start to get really serious as Maomao is hanging out with Gyokuyou and Ling Li. Yes, Gyokuyou makes the comment of the baby kicking downward. The moment I heard that, the moment that was there, my stomach just dropped. I'm like, no, it's breech birth. No, no. The idea that the feet come out first and yes, the head gets stuck. It's a death sentence. Again, for this time period, it's a death sentence. Even to today, it's still extremely dangerous. In most cases, they just have to cut the baby out. And again, for a time period like this, doing a surgery to cut that out is extremely dangerous. This is a death sentence. And again, even like I said earlier, with Luomen being involved, it's still extremely dangerous. And so, I don't want nothing to happen. Anyways, what happened in this scene? Yes, Maomao picks up on this, starts to immediately ask questions. How did Ling Ling go? How did that whole situation go? Who performed everything? Okay, you don't have somebody available for it. Hong Yang handled this whole situation, but it was an easy birth. We need somebody else. Gyokuyou asks, what's on your mind? Tell me. Just tell me. And she knows Maomao's picking up on something. And Maomao's like, okay, this is what's going on. It might be a breech baby, but we have to check some other ways. We have to do some other tests. Okay, how do you do that? Oh, okay, I know, but I don't know. I like this because Maomao is sort of saying, I've seen it, I've observed this stuff, but I'm not learned in it. I'm very skilled in medicine because that's what Luomen taught me. I was taught medicine. Everything else, I just know through observation. Yes, being a part of the pleasure district, being in that area, being at the madam's house, you're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff. So she's observed this stuff, but she's not learned in it. She's not been taught in this stuff. So she's not confident in herself. But I like how Gyokuyou's like, do you know how, can you do it? Can you do it? Maomao, can you do it? Yes, I'll do it. I know ways of looking into this more. So even though Maomao is kind of a little bit hesitant here, Gyokuyou is still like fully trusting in her. If you know what you're doing, go ahead. We'll do this. Okay, I got to do this right here. I have ways of checking further, but we got to do this. Well, I had a child. I think I can handle that. She's like, moms are tough. Yeah, that whole method of actually testing, that's not a very comfortable procedure. You don't have devices to literally see inside of there. But yes, Maomao checks, says, yeah, highly likely, unless it adjusts, but this late in the whole process, it's unlikely. We're probably going to have to prepare for the idea that we have to find some other way around it. And yes, I love how Maomao's like, who could possibly be able to do that? Who would be skilled enough to do that? Who's a doctor that's a eunuch that would be able to come in here and help us out? Who is skilled in this? Who has had experience in this? Luomen. And it sucks because Maomao kind of eases into the conversation and it kind of blows up in her face. And the idea that she doesn't right out say, Luomen, my father. The one that taught me everything, the one that I trust the most is the one that can help. But he's a criminal. But he's been banished from the rear palace. She just goes immediately into saying he's a criminal. So Hongyang's like, no, we're not letting a criminal anywhere near her. But again, really cool little moment where Gyokuyou's like, it's fine. Let her finish. Let Maomao finish. Again, Gyokuyou would have been dead several times if it weren't for Maomao. Lingli would be dead right now if it weren't for Maomao. Gyokuyou trusts Maomao. There's no reason that she shouldn't. Because in every situation where she could have died, she didn't die. So if Maomao wanted ill will towards Gyokuyou, she had plenty of opportunities to let things happen. But she didn't. She went out of her way to help Gyokuyou. But again, I like here because at some point, Hongyang keeps pushing back. And then Maomao's explaining that, yes, this is this doctor. I trust him. What is his experience? He was a eunuch. He worked in the rear palace. He delivered the emperor, the current heir, and Odo's child. Like, this guy literally, the emperor, you seen him? Yeah, he pulled him out. Like, this guy kind of can be trusted. But yes, interesting that she says the reason why he was banished was related to Lady Ado. So I've heard. Again, this is something that she wasn't told to her by her father. And I'm really hoping with this whole situation, we might actually get clarity behind that. Again, there was a little bit more added to the whole situation with Anshi, in which she recalls the whole situation with the eunuchs even starting and how, yes, the one that kind of helped her was forced into that whole procedure. And again, we know that he was sort of involved with the whole situation with Ado, kind of blamed with that whole situation. Because the child was lost, he sort of got part of the blame and banished. But I love this because Hongyang's like, he's a criminal, can't trust him. But Gyokuyou says, you know full well that many were manipulated during the era of the Great Empress. Again, this ticked for me because we had that whole episode where Hongyang was sending the girls to go hang out at this ghost telling stories segment. She knew that lady, and that lady was telling the story about this incident in the past. It sort of clicked for me with that situation. Now, there could be another reason why Hongyang would know that, like he know the stories, but that sort of clicked there, that she knew this lady that was seemingly wronged by the previous emperor. And then yes, 2 days later, Luomen shows up. Again, I got emotional. It was partly due to the music just kicking in, but I was like, it hit me because, again, this is a guy that gave everything for this empire, was very learned, very skilled, lost his manhood to this kingdom, to its previous empress. And then here he's walking those doors again. After being banished, this criminal walking those doors again. I'm very curious as to if he got cleared of the crimes or if this is where they're just sneaking him in there. I am really curious about that. But yeah, he goes in there, introduces himself. He's going to be working at the office temporarily. That kind of makes me believe that it's not that he's cleared, that he's only going to be there temporarily. Come in there, get this done, and leave. But yeah, immediately everybody's like, wow, wait, so that's your father? He raised you? Wait, that's I figured he'd be different. Wait, what are you talking about? He seems normal. He seems like a decent man. I didn't expect this guy to be your father. Rude. Then we had a brief scene of the new worker that has been brought into the rear palace, and they're standing in front of some graves. One of them is marked Great Treasure. I don't know if this is going to be already they're bringing up this child that was kicked out? Question mark. Again, going back to the whole story that Anshi was telling about this one individual, this one concubine that was claiming that she had the child of the emperor, and then they declined her. He said that he never knew her and that the child was not the emperor's child. They said specifically the child was taken out of the rear palace and the lady was left behind, and that was the one that was telling the ghost stories. This could finally be that individual, question mark. I mean, the hair color and all that kind of stuff seems right. Seems like they have a bone to pick, possibly. And that grave could possibly be that lady. Why that grave would be titled Great Treasure, that's the only part that doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure how the Great Treasure could tie in with that. But I'm curious, with a grave that they're standing in front of, again, that could this be the child of that concubine already being brought into the situation? Could be. And again, that would line it up to the idea that this person is there as somebody that could be a rightful heir to the late emperor. And that could stir up some problems. I don't know how that could be that significant. He was declined back then. Just a random person popping up out of nowhere. Unless they go through the trial, I don't see how possibly they would have any say and just get thrown to the wolves. Unless he gets in contact with Lacan and Lacan sides with him. Or again, Luomen's father, who has a lot of strength in this country. Again, I have assumptions that Loumen is involved with him being brought in there. But what would be Loumen's whole purpose here? What is her goal? We'll see. We'll see. The preview for the next episode isn't looking very happy either. The preview for the next episode looking like somebody's going to attempt something again. So I think things are going to start kicking up here soon, but we'll see. But that's my thoughts on the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below, comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. As always, if you are a source material reader, I don't need answer to any of the speculation I do in the video. It's just fun and speculation. But if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. But until next time, y'all take care.